So please just start by introducing yourself and maybe give us a brief snapshot of your life outside the political world.
Well, my name is John Thompson, and um, I'm a father of five, loving parent to my kids. Outside of the political world, I was a machinist for 11 years. I worked for St. Paul Public Schools. I repaired a lot of the equipment, in particular nutrition service equipment, the rooftop units and the freezers and stoves and things of that nature. There's a lot of industrial equipment that I repaired. And, I always like to fix things, so I'm pretty good with my hands. Probably some people don't know about me is I'm pretty good with my hands, so I love to fix things. And I really love my job. Now, how I got into the political world is, after the untimely death of my good friend Philando Castile, who was untimely murdered in 2016. Me and Philando both worked for St. Paul Public Schools. And, I just decided that I wanted to be the change that I wanted to see, because I show up here a lot with my bullhorn and 250 people behind me. I think that for me, it's about trying to be the change and create the change I want to see in my community, and knowing that living on the east side of St. Paul is very diverse. So it's not just one particular demographic of people. It's diverse, but we all have one thing in common. A lot of us are struggling. And so as opposed to showing up to the state capitol and trying to complain about the change we want to see, I try to motivate people to be the change they want to see. And so I decided to put my name on the ballot, and that's how I got here.
Talk a little bit more about that community. For someone that hasn't been through 67A, what kind of community is it?
The east side of St. Paul is kind of, it's funny, we have a large Hmong population, we have a Somali population, but then there's a huge African American population also. I do know that it's very diverse, and the east side we all use our diversity as our strength. There's a lot of east side pride on the east side. When we think about the East Side Heat Athletics, Lower East Side football program over on the east, there's a lot of things that we could actually do to better the conditions, and it's beautiful. We're talking about Lake Phelan and Battle Creek, and it's beautiful on the east side, by the way. Also, we're close to the Capitol, and we can look out our window and see the Capitol. We just want to see some of the work that comes out of the Capitol actually benefit the east side when we look out our window. So we talk about the east side, I'll go forever, because this is where I live and I love it.
And then just finally, I took this from your campaign page. I thought it was a pretty neat note. You said that you'll work for policies that make sense for my constituents, my community, and for the people who have been marginalized and left out without a voice for far too long. What type of policies would you like to see?
Policy that makes sense for my community. I'll give you a example of what I'm saying. After Philando died, I don't know if people understand this, but I watched Philando Castile serve 200 some odd kids in a feeding. And Philando would say, put that milk down, you're lactose intolerant. Hey, you can't have that because that has peanut in, you know what I mean? And he would know these kids' food allergies, but behind Philando was their pictures and their food allergies, but he never looked behind them. He's just and some kids so they don't have $1.40 in their account, $1.40 in their account. Well, Philando would go in his pocket and pay, because in some instances they were getting their lunches taken from them, right? And they would give them a cheese sandwich. Now, this kid sitting in the corner with a cheese sandwich. Now kids they're not being mean, they're just kids, and they're like, oh, they're poor. And so after Philando was murdered, Valerie Castile started the Philando Castile Relief Foundation. And then we traveled the state paying off student lunch debt. I don't know if you know that, $20,000, $10,000, right? If these kids are not our investment, then what are we investing in? We should be invested in our future. You mean to tell me we can't afford to give them a hot lunch and a cold breakfast to start the day? We can't afford it. And there was a lot of times when we would come in, where were we going to find the money, right? And here we are in a pandemic now. Not only are we feeding them for free, but we're delivering the food on school buses. And so when I say policy that makes sense, think about that. We have to pass policy that, I mean, we can't feed the kids. What are we doing here? And so that's policy that makes sense. And it is facts that when kids have a healthy lunch, a healthy breakfast, they do better in school. And so this is policy that makes sense. Right? Let's create pathways to change some of these conditions that we're complaining about seeing in our community. Or other than that, we're just complaining, oh, this is a bad community. But we're not providing resources. We can't keep trying to change something without implementing and giving power to the people who are impacted by some of the things we're trying to change. Does that make sense? Like a lot of times we make decisions for people, we have no idea what the heck they need. We just go off of what we think would help. We should start implementing them in the process and giving them power to actually be a part of the change. And so, like, this is like something new for me, but like I'm determined to be exactly what I said, and that's the change I want to see. This is something that I've never been more passionate about. Like I've never stayed in a Zoom meeting from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Actually, this whole experience has been like the best experience ever in my life, brother. Like I took my 12-year-old. My son was 12 at the time, and when I put my name on the ballot, this kid cried. I wanted to ask him, why is he crying? Then I thought about it, like, nobody in my family ever thought of doing something like this, would have never put something like this on my plate. Like, I put something on his plate that if I don't show him, nobody will show him, but he's proud of me for something that, like, I would have never thought that. When he says that to me now, like, I'm proud of you, Dad, I'm like, wow, you're my role model. You know what I mean? Like, I'm proud of you, but I'm doing something other than showing my son how to be a knucklehead. How about that? I'm showing him how to be somebody who, if you want to change something, this is the way to do it, right? Go out and be the change you want, and don't let nobody tell you no. Nobody tell you what you can and can't be or can and can't do. I want to show my son that he can do whatever he puts his mind to do. And I'll leave you with this. I do know that legislation help create a lot of the disparities we see. Legislation can help fix them. We just got to get together and work on them. And that's what I want to do as a legislator, man. Like, I want to be able to work with a diverse group of some of Minnesota's finest leaders in creating the change that we all complain about wanting to see. And there's a lot of people here that have the same agenda. Just needed allies like myself and a lot of the other newcomers, I hope.